We back to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Hello internet. Recently I just got some new shit. Fuck, I already forgot what I was trying to say. So not too long ago, meaning several months ago, I wanted to do something with my car and I thought I would go with some adapter spacers. One thing that has always bothered me is just the huge gaps, especially in the back where my wheels are just pushed like way in. I feel like it causes like a lot of road noise and it's just not very like aerodynamic. I also like the look of poke. However, poke can induce some like problems. Poke is basically just whenever your wheels stick outside of the fender. I don't know. I just think that shit looks hard. So one thing before we get started, I think is important clarification. These are adapter spacers. These are not normal spacers. Normal spacers can actually cause a lot of problems because they reduce the amount of contact between your lugs and your threads, and this can kind of cause your hub bolts or whatever to basically snap. If you do it right, you can avoid doing that, but generally I would say to avoid standard spacers. So when you're doing a job like this, you don't necessarily need any crazy tools. You just use pretty much the same stuff that you would to change out your tire or swap out with a donut or something like that. However, you might want to consider using something called a torque wrench. A torque wrench is basically a wrench that tells you when to stop wrenching. Pretty much every nut and bolt in your car is meant to be torqued to a certain specification, and something like this it's something you don't really want to mess up with. So one of the first steps in this process is you just want to go ahead and you can either put your parking brake on or get some wheel chocks to place behind your wheel. Just make sure that you're on a flat surface so that your car isn't rolling back or anything like that. Then once everything is stable, you just want to go ahead and loosen up your lug nuts. Don't take them all the way off. You just want to loosen them for now. And then after that, you'll lift up the car. Make sure you're lifting up from the right spot, because if you don't, you'll destroy your car. Once your car's up in the air and it's stable and not rocking everywhere and nobody's gonna die, you can go ahead and take off the rest of the lug nuts slowly. Make sure you don't crush your foot with your wheel. That would suck.
That's really what the issue is. It's that a lot of these people, they're never even going to hear it. Like you can't get here. You can't get here. You see what I'm saying?
So here's what my car looks like a little bit without the wheel on it. You might notice that I have an actual rotor. Some of you might actually have drums. But yeah, there is a little bit of surface rust. It's really not nearly as bad as it looks. Maybe one day I'll clean it up.
No, I don't think I will.
And from here you can kind of see how an adapter spacer functions. Another thing I want to point out is that these are hub centric adapter spacers. So basically the very center ring matches the diameter of the inner ring that's a part of the hub. This basically prevents any moving around and shifting, and it makes sure that everything is nicely aligned. You'll also
Miss Kitty.
What's up, champ? So once you've got everything torqued down, that's pretty much it. You'll basically just do everything else in reverse. You'll put your wheel back on, you'll lower the car, blah de blah, Oh yeah, and then you'll do it 3 more times. So here's a bit of a before and after with one spacer installed and a comparison to the other side. And here's after installing the passenger side spacer. And here is a direct before and after. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and there are actually some benefits to using spacers, especially in my case. These Lancers are pretty bad with road noise, and especially with how far in the rear wheels are, and just you know, also it probably doesn't help that I'm missing a lot of my engine shield and like the plastic and stuff like that. But I just feel like the car itself was kind of a parachute. After putting spacers on, I think the car just genuinely drove, not only like it felt a lot more stable, but it also performed a lot better in windy conditions. Normally when it's super windy, I can't really drive that fast because the car just wants to go like wherever. However, after installing the spacers, the car just felt a lot more stable, and I had a lot more control during, you know, windier conditions. Now from there, it just seems like it's all uphill, right? The car not only looks better, but also drives better. I don't know, that seems like a pretty good deal to me, especially for like 80 bucks. However, I did run into one kind of serious issue. Now, I'm not sure if this is due to my alignment, or maybe the car was already banged up before me, or maybe I just did something stupid. Either way, for one reason or another, one of my wheels, especially in the back, got some pretty bad rub between the wheel and the fender. This ended up like rubbing away a pretty good amount of the rubber on my tire, and in a very bad spot as well. Like anything that's on the sidewall is usually pretty bad, and it was like that for about a week. Luckily, I was able to get a fender roller in pretty quickly, and basically I just kind of pushed out the fender a little bit and then like crushed in the inner lip. For whatever reason, the inner lip on my Lancer was incredibly sharp on that side. So by now I've already replaced those tires. Fortunately, I haven't had any issues ever since then. It's kind of what happens, you know, when you're modifying your car. Sometimes you find an issue that you didn't even know you had. Sometimes you end up creating a brand new issue for yourself. But you know, that's just part of the game, I guess.